darkest and most chilling tales to ever spread across the internet. A grotesque reminder of how quickly tragedy can turn into terror. The story begins in a dimly lit circus tent, where the air was thick with the smell of sweat and anticipation. The audience watched with eager eyes as a dwarf, known for his daring and wild performances, stood on the edge of the stage. He was about to attempt something no one had ever dared before, an act involving a massive hulking hippopotamus, a creature so enormous that even its smallest movement could send shivers of dread through the crowd. But then something went terribly wrong. As the dwarf approached the beast, the audience's laughter turned to horror. In a split second, the hippo lunged forward, its enormous mouth snapping shut with terrifying speed. The crowd froze, horrified, as the dwarf vanished into the cavernous, blood-stained maw of the creature. Screams echoed through the tent as the hippo chewed and swallowed, its grotesque jaws snapping with a sickening crunch, swallowing the dwarf whole in a single, horrific gulp. The circus performers rushed to stop the chaos, but it was too late. The horrific scene left the crowd stunned in disbelief. The memory of that moment forever burned into their minds. No one could explain how it happened, or why the hippo had attacked so suddenly. All they knew was that the innocent, tragic end of the dwarf had forever stained the circus, turning it from a place of joy to a haunted ground of fear. Hippo Eats Dwarf was no longer just a rumor. It was a nightmare that would never fade.
On the bleak and brooding moors of Exmoor, a sinister legend prowls under the cover of fog, the Beast of Exmoor. This shadowy creature, said to be a massive panther-like cat, has haunted Devon and Somerset for decades, stalking the hillsides with predatory stealth and leaving a haunting sense of dread among those who dare to wander alone. The sightings began with strange gutted livestock, sheep and cattle left torn and bloodied in the fields, their bodies shredded as if by claws, both powerful and merciless. Farmers spoke in hushed voices of a creature with pitch-black fur and glowing amber eyes, a beast whose presence seemed to darken even the coldest nights. With the agility of a ghost, the beast slipped in and out of the shadows, its massive form almost invisible against the wild, rugged landscape. The few who glimpsed it reported an eerie silence, a predatory stillness that filled the air just before they spotted a flicker of movement, a sleek shadow stalking through the mist. The beast's piercing gaze and sleek, muscular form struck terror into anyone unfortunate enough to catch sight of it. Hunters and locals formed search parties, eager to rid Exmoor of its phantom predator. They scoured the moors, rifles in hand, yet the creature always evaded capture, leaving only clawed imprints in the damp earth and lingering, blood-curdling growls in the distance. Today, the legend of the Beast of Exmoor endures. When the fog rolls thick over the moors and the wind whispers through the gnarled trees, locals warn to keep close to the path and avoid the dark, lest they become prey to the elusive, unyielding shadow known only as the Beast.
the shadowed alleys of Greenock, Scotland, lurks a figure known only as the Catman, a creature half hidden in mystery and spine-chilling whispers. Since the 1970s, stories of this eerie figure have crept through the town, haunting those who hear them. They say he moves like a ghost, a filthy, gaunt figure with wild eyes that gleam with something both human and unearthly. His hands, calloused and dirt-streaked, reach out to catch his prey, rats, which he devours with chilling primal hunger, blood staining his fingers and lips. But it's not only his taste for rats that stirs terror. The legend claims he lives among wild cats, moving silently alongside them as though he were one of their own. The cats accept him, even protect him, slinking through the shadows as his ghostly guardians. Locals swear that on quiet nights, you can see him crouched low, his face barely visible in the dim light, with wild cats prowling around him in a tight, watchful circle. Rumors say that if you lock eyes with the Catman, you'll feel an unnatural chill, as if he's peering into your soul. Some claim he was once a normal man, driven mad and feral by a life of solitude, or perhaps a restless spirit bound to Greenock streets. Many who have dared to approach him in those dark alleyways have quickly turned back, too shaken by his hollow gaze, feeling the weight of something ancient and unbroken. To this day, people pass the alleys of Greenock with hushed steps, casting wary glances into the darkness, knowing the Catman might be watching, his eyes glinting in the night, waiting, forever lingering in the shadows, more ghost than man, bound to the darkness alongside his feline companions.
In 2016, a strange and unsettling phenomenon began creeping across the country. Clowns, grotesque figures painted in bright colors, started appearing in the most unexpected places. They emerged from the dark, their smiles stretched too wide, their eyes glinting with something that felt wrong, something that seemed to hunger for fear. It began with fleeting glimpses, reports of lone clowns standing silently at the edges of forests, staring with their heads tilted just slightly, as if amused by some private, twisted joke. Then the sightings grew closer, figures appearing beneath streetlights at 3 a.m., lurking near playgrounds, their bright costumes garish under the moonlight. Witnesses described the feeling of being watched, a chill that ran down the spine when they saw those crimson smiles in the shadows. They never spoke. They simply stared, sometimes holding balloons that bobbed eerily in the night breeze. People reported being chased, the clowns lunging out of the darkness, their laughter shrill and unnatural, echoing through empty streets. The terror spread like wildfire, each new sighting feeding the growing paranoia. By the time October rolled in, the sightings had become a frenzy, a nightmare that blurred the lines between prank and something much more sinister. The clowns were no longer just hiding in the dark. They were approaching homes, tapping on windows, their faces inches from the glass. Their eyes were vacant, their painted grins too wide, and the fear they left in their wake was real, a creeping dread that no one could shake. The clowns eventually disappeared, fading back into the shadows as quickly as they had come, but the unease remained. Now, whenever someone catches a flash of color in the darkness, a hint of red or yellow, they wonder, have the clowns returned? They call it Alexandria's genesis, a mutation whispered about on dark corners of the internet, a genetic gift or perhaps a curse that transforms its carriers into something almost beyond human. Those with this mutation are said to possess eyes of an unnatural shade, a deep, almost glowing violet that seems to pierce through your very soul. These eyes are not merely beautiful. They hold an ancient knowledge, something that feels off, something that hints at a reality beyond what we understand. The carrier's skin is pale, almost shimmering, as if reflecting moonlight, and they lack the imperfections of humanity. No body hairs, no aging spots, nothing but flawless, smooth skin that remains untouched by time. For women, there is no menstruation, but they remain fertile, a cruel and paradoxical defiance of the natural world. It's said that those who have seen them can't shake the feeling that there is something distinctly cold about their presence, a detachment from the world that makes them seem almost spectral. There are those who claim to have met someone with Alexandria's genesis. They describe encounters with people who seem ageless, their eyes too intense, their manner too calm, as if they were only pretending to be human. Rumors say they live for centuries, watching silently as the world changes around them, untouched by the march of time, their violet eyes betraying no hint of emotion. The real fear is in the unknown, what they want, why they hide, and how many there are. When you stare into their violet eyes, you might feel it, the unsettling sensation that you're not looking at a person, but at something else entirely, something that sees you as no more than a brief flicker in the eternity they have already seen and will continue to witness. In the small, quiet town of Quitman, Arkansas, an unsettling tale haunts the streets. The legend of Gerald Bettis, more chillingly known as the Dog Boy. Locals whisper that Gerald was no ordinary child. With an eerie fascination for cruelty, he terrorised the town, his twisted grin and deadened eyes enough to send shivers down anyone's spine. It's said that as a boy, he would capture stray dogs and cats, dragging them into his family's decrepit house, where unsettling cries and strange noises echoed through the night. As he grew older, his dark nature only deepened. Gerald's obsession with pain extended to his own parents. Neighbours claimed they saw him towering over his elderly mother, his hands clenched, his eyes wild with some unspeakable rage. His father, a once strong man, was seen bruised and frail, unable to escape the torment inflicted by his own son. Shadows would flicker at the windows, figures moving in unnatural ways, and rumours spread that Gerald was more than a man, something twisted, something monstrous. One night, the house fell silent. No screams, no shadowy figures, only an oppressive stillness. Some say Jarrell vanished, others claim he still lingers in Quitman, watching from the dark, his cold gaze fixed on anyone who dares to remember. And when the moon is high, they say you can feel his presence, a chilling shadow creeping closer, a memory of pure, unhinged malice lurking in the quiet streets of Quitman, waiting, forever haunted by the Dog Boy. In the mist-shrouded town of Cannon Beach, where the coastal fog blankets the landscape, locals share a chilling tale of the Bandage Man. They say he was once a logger, a man hardened by years of grueling labour, but fate twisted his life in a nightmarish direction when a brutal accident at the sawmill left him shredded, his body mangled by spinning blades, flesh torn and bones splintered. The legend tells of his agonising screams that echoed long after the sawdust settled, his body cloaked in blood-soaked bandages, clinging to life before death finally claimed him. Yet death did not bring him peace. No, it bound him to the land, cursed to wander the coastal roads and woods, an undying shadow of suffering and rage. Locals claim that the Bandage Man haunts the old logging roads, reeking of decay and vengeance, waiting to unleash his fury on unsuspecting travellers who dare cross his path. On a cold, moonless night, two teenagers named Lisa and Mark drove up to a secluded lookout on the cliff, their laughter carrying through the still night. They parked, content with each other's company and the eerie quiet surrounding them. But as they leaned in close, the car suddenly shook, as if struck by an unseen force. Startled, Mark scanned the darkness, his pulse quickening. Nothing but fog and shadow met his gaze. Then came a stench, the foul, sickly odour of rotting flesh and mould. It seeped into the car like an omen. Suddenly, from the corner of her eye, Lisa spotted a movement. A figure lumbering toward them, wrapped head to toe in filthy, blood-streaked bandages, his form twitching with unnatural jerks. His eyes glowed faintly beneath the layers, glinting with a twisted fury as he dragged his broken body closer, closer. Mark slammed the car into reverse, his hands trembling on the wheel. The Bandage Man reached the vehicle, clawing smearing the glass with sticky red streaks. His muffled grunts turned to frenzied snarls as he pounded, each strike heavier, filled with unspeakable malice. His bandages hung loose, revealing glimpses of torn flesh and exposed bone beneath. Mark and Lisa's screams filled the car as he threw the vehicle into drive, tires squealing as they sped down the winding road. But the bandage man didn't relent. He clung to the bumper, his bandaged face pressed against the rear window, eyes locked with theirs, as if daring them to look away. His grip grew stronger, pulling himself up inch by inch, his bandages trailing behind like gruesome streamers. With a final, desperate turn, Mark swerved off the main road, nearly careening into the forest as the cars skidded to a halt. They waited, breath held, but the bandage man had vanished, his rotting scent lingering like a ghostly reminder. They dared not speak as they drove back to town, only to realise later that the windows bore streaks of dried blood and faint, hand-shaped smears. The townsfolk say that if you're driving alone on foggy nights and catch a whiff of that deathly odour, it means the bandage man is near, and he won't stop until he claws his way into the car, claiming anyone unfortunate enough to cross his path, dragging them into his endless nightmare of pain and rage, bound forever by his bandages of blood. In the shadowed woods near Leicestershire, a creature of nightmare prowls, Black Annis, the dreaded blue-faced hag. Cloaked in darkness, her gnarled face is stained a haunting shade of blue, her iron claws gleaming with a terrifying sharpness, honed from years of hunting in the dead of night. Children and townsfolk alike know the tales of her hunger, a twisted craving for human flesh that sends shivers through the village. Black Annie's hides in a cave carved from the rocks by her own jagged claws, a lair littered with the remains of her grisly feasts. Animal bones, and some say human bones, line the ground, while the chilling stench of decay fills the air. As dusk falls, she slinks from her den, her clawed hands scratching along tree trunks, leaving deep gouges in the bark. Her piercing eyes, dark and unforgiving, scan the surroundings, searching, waiting. She has a particular taste for children, her long, spindly fingers reaching out to snatch any who wanders too close to the edge of the woods. Many parents tell their children tales of Black Annies, warning them not to stray after dark, lest they become her next victim. They say she hides beneath beds or crouches outside windows, her twisted grin visible just beyond the glass, savouring the fear of those trapped inside. Sometimes, villagers claim to hear her unearthly wails in the wind, a bone-chilling howl that pierces the night. They say it's her call, a twisted lullaby that drags the unwary toward her grasp. On moonless nights, her figure can be seen creeping through the shadows, her blue face glowing faintly, iron claws poised to strike. Today, the legend of Black Annis still haunts the children of Leicestershire, a ghastly spectre lurking at the edge of nightmares, waiting to snatch anyone who dares defy the tales of her insatiable hunger. the depths of the Nevada desert lies a place that hums with secrecy and dread, a location known to most as Area 51. Officially, it is just a section of the Nevada Test and Training Range, but the whispers tell a different story. Beneath the scorching sun by day and the bone-chilling cold by night, something far more sinister is said to lurk behind the barbed wire, guarded by armed soldiers and watchful eyes. Those who dare to venture too close to the perimeter speak of strange encounters, lights that flash in the dead of night, darting across the sky at impossible speeds, a low, rhythmic humming that seems to vibrate from deep underground, unsettling, unnatural. It's not uncommon to spot black SUVs patrolling the empty roads, their windows tinted dark, their occupants unseen. They watch, they follow, ensuring no one gets too close, ensuring the secrets stay buried. The rumors claim that deep within Area 51 are hidden the wreckage of something not from this earth. A twisted metal craft, battered and ancient, locked away beneath layers of concrete and steel. There are tales of bodies, too. Fragile, gray-skinned figures with elongated limbs and eyes that seem to stare beyond death, forever frozen in cold, clinical chambers. The scientists there, it is said, are not merely studying them. They are experimenting, trying to unlock the secrets of the cosmos, bending natural laws that should never be disturbed. And then there are the voices. Late at night, when the desert winds are still, some claim to hear them. Soft, echoing murmurs coming from beneath the ground. They sound almost human, but there's something off about them. An edge that hints at a language not of this world, a plea or perhaps a warning. The government insists Area 51 is nothing but a military installation, a test ground for advanced aircraft. But those who have seen the strange lights, who have felt the ground vibrate beneath their feet, know otherwise. They say that Area 51 is not just a base, it's a threshold, a point where our world meets something else, something beyond comprehension. And those who get too close may find themselves staring into the sky, realizing too late that the watchers are staring back, their intentions unknown, their patience running thin. In the chilling legend of the Buckley family, an old, grainy photograph captures a haunting moment that still terrifies those who see it. The black and white image shows two children, a boy and a girl, standing eerily still, their faces expressionless, eyes empty and dark. But beneath this innocent appearance lies a sinister tale, a Halloween night turned nightmare. According to the legend, the Buckley children were quiet and reserved, hardly ever speaking to anyone but each other. On one Halloween night, however, their mother mysteriously disappeared. Neighbours grew suspicious, noticing that the house remained dark and silent, an unsettling quiet hovering over it. Days later, the truth was discovered in a twisted, horrific scene, their mother's body hidden away, with chilling evidence suggesting that the children had murdered her. rational motive, only a dark emptiness in the children's eyes, a void that seemed to stare right back at them, leaving officers uneasy. It's said that the Buckley children were taken away, their fate unknown, but the photograph remained, a disturbing reminder of that night. Some say that if you look into the children's eyes for too long, you'll feel an inexplicable darkness creeping over you, as though their eerie, hollow stare is reaching out, threatening to pull you into their twisted world. To this day, that haunting image is said to resurface occasionally, appearing in random places, as if the Buckley children are still watching, waiting, perhaps seeking a new victim to haunt. Those who've seen it say the cold, empty stare never leaves them, a terrifying reminder of innocence twisted into something monstrous, lingering just beyond the frame. In the chilling winter of 1953, the quiet town of Bladenboro, North Carolina, was gripped by fear. It started with a single grisly discovery. A family dog, its body drained of blood, left lifeless on the icy ground. The town whispered of a shadow in the woods, a monstrous creature with eyes that gleamed in the dark and fangs sharp enough to tear flesh like paper. They called it the Beast of Bladenboro, or more hauntingly, the Vampire Beast. Each night, the body count rose. Livestock and pets were found slaughtered, their corpses mangled, throats punctured by jagged teeth. The beast struck with silent, brutal efficiency, leaving trails of blood-soaked snow, yet no paw prints or clues. Locals reported glimpses of a hulking, cat-like creature, its coat a menacing shade that seemed to meld with the shadows. Its movements were swift and unnaturally smooth, stalking its prey with the calculated precision of a seasoned predator. Panic spread, and townsfolk gathered rifles and flashlights, forming hunting parties to track the monster. But the beast seemed to toy with them, vanishing like a spectre before they could close in. At night, they heard the eerie, guttural growls echoing from the woods, chilling them to the bone. Hunters claimed to feel eyes watching from the darkness, as if the beast was studying them, mocking their futile efforts. Days turned into weeks, and the carnage continued. The town became paralysed, gripped by the terror of something unseen but all too real. Then, as abruptly as it had come, the creature vanished, leaving Bladenboro haunted and scarred. To this day, on the coldest nights of winter, when the wind howls through the trees, they say you can hear the faint growl of the Beast of Bladenboro, lurking just out of sight, waiting for his next hunt. In the dark corners of Fairfax County, Virginia, lurks a tale so twisted it leaves a chill, even in the bravest hearts. The legend of the Bunny Man is whispered in hushed tones, a haunting memory of the night he first appeared, a figure in a ragged, filthy rabbit costume, eyes blazing with madness, clutching an axe. It began in 1970, on a cold October night. A young couple parked their car near an old bridge, hoping for a quiet moment alone. Suddenly, they heard a scraping sound, metal dragging against stone, then a bone-chilling voice snarling, "Get off my land." In the dim light, they saw him, the Bunny Man. He lifted his axe high, and with a swift, furious swing, shattered their windshield. Shrieking, the couple sped off, but the image of the crazed man, fur-matted with dirt and blood, etched itself into their minds. Since that night, stories have spread, each one more horrifying than the last. Some say he's the ghost of an escaped asylum patient who hides in the woods, haunting the county in search of revenge. Others claim he's a restless spirit, doomed to stalk the shadows forever, fueled by a rage he can't control. They say that if you dare to visit the bridge at midnight, you might hear the sound of his axe scraping the ground, his ghostly form lingering in the shadows, waiting for another soul to claim. People swear they've seen him, his silhouette under the moonlight, his eyes gleaming from the depths of the forest. And one thing is certain: once you see the Bunny Man, you'll never forget the sight of his axe, the echo of his growl, or the terror that will haunt your dreams. In the dark hours of night, when the world falls silent, a chilling urban legend creeps into the minds of those who've heard it. The tale of the black-eyed children. These sinister figures, resembling children aged between 6 and 16, have been reported on doorsteps, in parking lots, along deserted roadsides, and even knocking on car windows. Their pale skin and soulless black eyes, unmistakable and unforgettable. They appear vulnerable, lost, perhaps even in need of help, but there's something undeniably wrong about them. The stories are always the same. A lone person is going about the night when there's an unexpected knock. Upon opening the door, they find two children standing in the shadows, heads tilted down, hands clasped tightly. They speak softly, their voices eerily calm, asking to come inside, pleading to be let in. "Please, we're lost," they whisper. "We need to use your phone. Let us in." An inexplicable dread seeps into the air, an instinctive warning not to trust these children. Their presence feels wrong, alien. The unfortunate souls who've encountered them describe a rising terror, a sensation so primal it makes the hair on the back of their necks stand. These children will persistently ask to be let in, growing more insistent with each refusal, their voices slipping from gentle to unnervingly demanding. The true horror, however, lies in their eyes, pitch black orbs, empty of any warmth, life, or humanity. Once the blackness of their gaze is noticed, the fear becomes inescapable. Witnesses describe an overwhelming urge to shut the door, to flee, as if staring into those eyes could drain one's very soul. Some unlucky individuals have reported letting the children inside, only to be overcome by feelings of despair and dread. Their homes feel darker, colder, and they report experiencing nightmares and a constant feeling of being watched. Those who survive such encounters claim their lives are never the same, haunted by sickness, misfortune, and a sense of something unseen lurking just beyond their vision. Legend has it that the black-eyed children are not children at all, but creatures of something older and darker, a malevolent force cloaked in the innocence of youth. They cannot enter unless invited, yet they possess a strange hypnotic pull, as if they can bend their victims' wills to their own. Those who encounter the black-eyed children speak of them in hushed voices, sharing only vague details, fearful of summoning them back by remembering too clearly. And for those who live alone, beware of unexpected knocks on your door late at night. Because if you ever hear a soft, insistent voice asking to be let in, resist the urge to open the door. Turn off the lights, stay quiet, and pray they leave before you catch a glimpse of their hollow, black eyes staring through the darkness, waiting